All right, Jackson, I am taking a look now at your report and getting back to you on this. So here is my video evaluation of it. I got to try to keep this at 10 minutes or less, so I'm going to kind of have to go quick through here. Let's see how we do, how it works. So first of all, delete the red. You won't need to have that in there. Online classes are more beneficial than in-person classes. Okay, that's good. Make sure you center that and remove the bold. You can delete the introduction here. It does not need to be there. Just the rest of the, if you have the rest, yeah, these need to be here, but not the one. You don't need one for the introduction. It's a given. All right. Okay, good. This report looks into how online. You could probably word this a little bit better than to say looks into. I know it's probably not. It's not necessarily wrong, but I think it just could be maybe worded a little better. So just think about that. How you could say that better. This report seeks to understand the online learning, how online learning has become, right? So that's up to you, but think about how to do that. Think about that. Okay, you don't delete this sentence here, the last sentence here, delete that because what you're saying here is basically you're making an assertion. Now remember, this is a report, so it has to stay objective. You can't say that it is more beneficial. You have to talk about how it may be, or like at the end, you could talk about how your evidence proves or shows that it might be true or whatever, but you can't come out and actually tell the audience what to think, and that's pretty much what you're doing with this. So just delete this and keep this as your thesis statement. Okay. Get rid of this excess spacing here. It should all be double spaced. Same here. If you have any trouble figuring out how to do that, just you can either look it up at Google or let me know, and I can help you with it. Okay, when you start in here, as you cite sources in here, you need to make sure that you introduce them properly. And the way to do that is shown to you in the video that's in the video titled Integrating Sources. That should be in the supplementary videos. So bring that up and take a look at it and then use what it tells you to do to introduce your sources. And also refer back to, if you need to, the in the whole class activity we had where we talked about introducing the sources with the initial mention and the subsequent mention. You might remember that. That's exactly what we're talking about here. The first time you introduce an author, you have to do it a certain way. So you'll want to make sure that you do that. Okay, so fix your uh, throughout the whole paper. You need to look at that and fix your source citations. Okay, same thing here. Whenever you have an author, it's best to introduce it by the author in the signal phrase with their full name and something to qualify them. So that's what you should do here since you have an author's name here. And also you always need to have a page or paragraph number in these parentheticals that come at the end of the quotes. Okay, you do have talk about the gap here. Make sure you put that word in bold so it's easier for me to spot when I look at it again. Okay. Make sure that you have everything that the assignment calls for in here. Look again at the guidelines back in week 9 and make sure that you're putting everything in here and the sample. Make sure you're putting everything in there you need because it does look a little short. Okay, close up this excess spacing again. Make sure you tab in the first line of each sentence like you did here. Every new paragraph should start like that with it tabbed in. All right, research methods. Okay, remove yourself from the paper. Do not say I did this or I did that. You should not have any I, me, or my. You should just basically keep it in passive voice or whatever in order to get your voice out of there. So make sure you take your voice out of there. Um, Also, don't refer to your family. You want to make sure you keep this professional as possible. So you don't talk about how you interviewed your stepdad. You just basically you'd want to say for something like for primary research. James Carter was interviewed. He is a blah blah blah, and describe who he is and stuff. But don't talk about him as though he's family. Okay. Okay, this is okay to put the list. Just don't use too many lists. But if this is the only one, that won't be a big deal. Okay. All right. So that's not too bad. Again, close up the excess spacing. It should all be double spaced. Again, take yourself out. Say the interview with Mr. Carter supported these findings. Okay, here you introduce the figure, so that's great. Should try to have a title at the top of it to kind of state what it's about. And then underneath it, you need to have the figure 1, the descriptor, and then the full source citation, which looks mostly good here. Make sure if there's a URL, you add it in here too. It literally needs to be the full URL, or I mean the full citation, like it would be if you put it on the works cited page, but you don't need to put it on the works cited page because you'll have it here. Okay, good. Just make sure you look over these different areas. Some of them seem a little brief. See, this results in discussions quite brief to be both of those things. So you'll want to rethink that and make sure that you're putting everything in there that you should per the exemplar, I mean the sample and the guidelines. Okay, and then finally your conclusion here. This is a little too on the nose to just say it straight out like this. So instead of saying everyone should care about this topic because, what you could say is this topic is very important because, and then you could maybe say something like everyone should consider this and how they feel about it or whatever. It's a little too on the nose to say this. Say it, the word it just like that. Okay. Otherwise, it looks very good. Works cited should be on its start down here on its own new page. Everything should not be centered. This looks like it's all centered. It should not be centered. The only thing that's centered, and also remove the bold here, would be the works cited title. All of these should be left margin aligned with hanging indent. So you want to make sure you fix those citations. C, K, I'm going to P. So O should come before P. These need to be in alphabetical order according to that first words. Also, technically speaking, you only have 4 sources. You're actually really supposed to have 5 sources, but it's not too big a deal if you have at least 4. Especially, see, you got your infographic on here, and it shouldn't even be on here. So you really only got 3 sources on here. So you want to try to get at least another source or 2 to make it right. Okay. All right. So that's about it for this video. The last thing I need to point out is that as you go through here and fix everything, you need to make sure you highlight every little thing you fix, highlight it, and then annotate it also. Put annotations over here to tell me what it is you fixed. You have to do that all the way through the paper from beginning to end so I can tell you really did fix everything in the paper all the way through it. And then also, when you're done with all that, you should resubmit it to me so that I can give you more feedback. And that way we can make sure your paper is great for the final portfolio. All right, that'll do it. If you have any questions, need help with any of this stuff, please just let me know. I'm here to help.